Madame Pomfrey, the matron, was a nice woman, but very strict. "Just 5 minutes," Harry pleaded. "Absolutely not." "You let Professor Dumbledore in?" "Well, of course, that was the headmaster, quite different. You need rest." "I am resting, look, lying down and everything." "Oh, go on, Madame Pomfrey." "Oh, very well," she said, "but 5 minutes only." And she let Ron and Hermione in. "Harry!" Hermione looked ready to fling her arms around him again, but Harry was glad she held herself in, as his head was still very sore. "Oh, Harry, we were sure you were going to. Dumbledore was so worried." "The whole school's talking about it," said Ron. "What really happened?" It was one of those rare occasions when the true story is even more strange and exciting than the wild rumours. Harry told them everything. Quirrell, the mirror, the stone and Voldemort. Ron and Hermione were a very good audience. They gasped in all the right places, and, when Harry told them what was under Quirrell's turban, Hermione screamed out loud. "So the stone's gone," said Ron finally. "Flamel's just going to die." "That's what I said, but Dumbledore thinks that—" What was it? "To the well-organized mind, death is but the next great adventure." "I always said he was off his rocker," said Ron, looking quite impressed at how mad his hero was. "So what happened to you two?" said Harry. "Well, I got back all right," said Hermione. "I brought Ron round. That took a while, and we were dashing up to the owlery to contact Dumbledore when we met him in the entrance hall. He already knew. He just said, 'Harry's gone after him, hasn't he?' and hurtled off to the 3rd floor." "Do you think he meant you to do it?" said Ron. "Sending you your father's cloak and everything?" "Well," Hermione exploded, "if he did, I mean to say, that's terrible. You could have been killed." "No, it isn't," said Harry thoughtfully. "He's a funny man, Dumbledore. I think he sort of wanted to give me a chance. I think he knows more or less everything that goes on here, you know. I reckon he had a pretty good idea we were going to try, and instead of stopping us, he just taught us enough to help. I don't think it was an accident. He let me find out how the mirror worked. It's almost like he thought I had the right to face Voldemort if I could." "Yeah, Dumbledore's barking, all right," said Ron proudly. "Listen, you've got to be up for the end-of-year feast tomorrow. The points are all in, and Slytherin won, of course. You missed the last Quidditch match. We were steamrolled by Ravenclaw without you. But the food'll be good." At that moment, Madame Pomfrey bustled over. "You've had nearly 15 minutes, now out," she said firmly. After a good night's sleep, Harry felt nearly back to normal. "I want to go to the feast," he told Madame Pomfrey, as she straightened his many sweet boxes. "I can, can't I?" "Professor Dumbledore says you are to be allowed to go," she said sniffily, as though in her opinion Professor Dumbledore didn't realize how risky feasts could be. "And you have another visitor." "Oh, good," said Harry. "Who is it?" Hagrid sidled through the door as he spoke. As usual, when he was indoors, Hagrid looked too big to be allowed. He sat down next to Harry, took one look at him, and burst into tears. "It's all my ruddy fault," he sobbed, his face in his hands. "I told the evil git how to get past Fluffy. I told him. It was the only thing he didn't know, and I told him. You could have died, all for a dragon egg. I'll never drink again. I should be chucked out and made to live as a muggle." "Hagrid," said Harry, shocked to see Hagrid shaking with grief and remorse, great tears leaking down into his beard. "Hagrid, he'd have found out somehow. This is Voldemort we're talking about. He'd have found out even if you hadn't told him." "You could have died," sobbed Hagrid. "And don't say the name." "Voldemort," Harry bellowed, and Hagrid was so shocked he stopped crying. "I've met him, and I'm calling him by his name." "Please cheer up, Hagrid. We saved the stone. It's gone. He can't use it. Have a chocolate frog. I've got loads." Hagrid wiped his nose on the back of his hand and said, "That reminds me, I've got you a present." "It's not a stoat sandwich, is it?" said Harry anxiously, and at last Hagrid gave a weak chuckle. "Nah, Dumbledore gave me the day off yesterday to fix it. Course, he should have sacked me instead. Anyway, got you this." It seemed to be a handsome, leather-covered book. Harry opened it curiously. It was full of wizard photographs. Smiling and waving at him from every page were his mother and father. "Sent owls off to all your parents' old school friends, asking for photos. Knew you didn't have any. D'you like it?" Harry couldn't speak, but Hagrid understood. Harry made his way down to the end-of-year feast alone that night. He had been held up by Madame Pomfrey's fussing about, insisting on giving him one last check-up, so the great hall was already full. It was decked out in the Slytherin colours of green and silver to celebrate Slytherin's winning the House Cup for the 7th year in a row. A huge banner showing the Slytherin serpent covered the wall behind the high table. When Harry walked in, there was a sudden hush, and then everybody started talking loudly at once. He slipped into a seat between Ron and Hermione at the Gryffindor table, and tried to ignore the fact that people were standing up to look at him. Fortunately, Dumbledore arrived moments later. The babble died away. "Another year gone," Dumbledore said cheerfully. "And I must trouble you with an old man's wheezing waffle before we sink our teeth into our delicious feast. What a year it has been. Hopefully your heads are all a little fuller than they were. You have the whole summer ahead to get them nice and empty before next year starts. Now, as I understand it, the House Cup here needs awarding, and the points stand thus. In 4th place, Gryffindor, with 312 points. In 3rd, Hufflepuff, with 352. Ravenclaw have 426, and Slytherin 472. A storm of cheering and stamping broke out from the Slytherin table. Harry could see Draco Malfoy banging his goblet on the table. It was a sickening sight. Yes, well done, Slytherin," said Dumbledore. "However, recent events must be taken into account.